con esta actividad. Okay, as we see here, we have some of the elements we need to consider at the moment to see if something is a problem or not. So right now we'll present some of situations, some challenges, some challenging situations, and you will tell me if they are or not a problem. Read it carefully. This activity will be like 10 minutes, then the next presentation, and then I think it will give you the rest of time to work in the activity number 5, which is the last one. It's a little bit longer. It's a little bit longer than the other ones. It has a bunch of problems, and probably we will be working the rest of time, like I told you, in this activity. So it will separate the groups. Okay, we'll separate the groups, and that way you will be working with your teammate. That way I will pass group by group and hear your ideas. There is a Jamboard. Don't know if you already explored the activity. There is a Jamboard, and I will need you answer one exercise over there. Just group number 5 already did it. Then there are so many other exercises that you can answer, but be quickly because probably the exercise you want to answer will be answered by someone else. Okay, but we're gonna have the rest of the days until Wednesday, of course, to do that. So we have time. So let's see and tell me, please, conclude if next is a word problem. What do you think? Tom walks 7/8 of a mile to school. Paul walks 1/2 of a mile to school. How much farther does Pam walks than Paul? Is it a word problem? Ideas. Not to solve it. I think we can solve it very quickly. But is it a problem or not?
Yes, it is.
It is a problem, okay. Who think that's not a problem?
It is a word problem.
It is a word problem. Okay, I agree with you. It is an easy word problem because you can get the answer by simply thinking in an operation. Okay, if students are clear with the main idea that's working behind this one, yes, it is a problem and it's an easy problem. Okay, let's see next one. It says Marty made two types of cookies. He used 2/3 cup of sugar for one recipe and 1/4 cup of sugar for the other. How much sugar did he use to prepare each type of cookie? Is it a problem or not?
No, because they're giving you the answer already.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
agree with you. So that's not a problem because the goal is reachable very quickly, immediately, right? I think you have the answer over there. How could we make this a problem?
Maybe we can ask how much, what, asking, uh, cuánta azúcar más usó in order to make a recipe. Then, for
How
example,
much more?
how much more? Yes. How much
Okay.
more did he use?
Uh-huh. Other way, like erasing that question we have over there and making it as another way. How much sugar did he use to prepare the cookies, right? At the end, like this.
How much sugar did he use in total, or did he
Exactly,
add in
exactly.
total?
And we
Or
can
you
make
can say,
this.
ya le dijo Marjorie, I'm sorry.
Hello? Okay, or and you can
No,
add something
Alejandra iba a
else.
decir lo mismo, lo dije.
Lo dijo, de que how
Oh,
much
okay,
sugar, how many cups of sugar did they use in total? Pero ya lo
total,
dijo
right?
Marjorie, yes.
Exactly. Okay, and yeah, this becomes to be interesting that way. What happened if we add one more question? And is if he has just like 7/8 of a cup of sugar, will this be enough? Now we make this a challenge for the students, adding this extra question. And this is something you can do in the story problems or the word problems that comes in books. Add this extra that asks to the students think about the answer they got. It's so good to do this. Students start develop critical thinking, which is something we have been talking all the class, I think, and it's because it's needed. Okay, what about next one?
Mr.
Hello, yes?
And there's the importance of using the correct words in order to ask the questions, because maybe you can have a nice problem. The idea of the problem is nice, but the way that you wrote it, it's not correct. So you're going to confuse your students.
Okay, yes, that's another element we have to add in here. I think we can inclusively add it over here. Clearly, okay, well, that's including the clearly defined given the initial situation. Yeah. So what about next one? I need that someone read it, please, and then we're gonna hear if it's or not, or read it yourself. No problem. Or you're gonna read it, Mr. Ivan?
Yeah. In a survey you apply in the classroom, you get the next results. 1/3 of the students prefer soccer, the half the students prefer soccer and tennis, and 2/3 prefer tennis. If there are 12 students whose tennis is their favorite sport, how many students do you have in the classroom?
Okay. So what about this one? Is it a problem? Is it a word problem?
I think you need the information of how many students you have in order to get the 1/3, the 2/3.
But they says that they're
Asking for how many students does the classroom? I think it is a word problem, but it's not. We can solve it.
So if it's like that, so it's not, right? So it is or not a word problem.
It is a word problem. It's just very complex because then they have to understand the relationship of the wholes to multiply by each fraction to find out the total amount of students.
Okay. And can you tell me like what's the total amount of students?
If you do it like this by 2/3 that only prefer tennis, that would be, you have to understand that 1/3 is 6. All right, 136, because if 2/3 is they only prefer tennis, then that means that 136. And if you have 1/3, then that would be 18 in total.
And
Because then it would
then
be
and then 9 students like soccer and tennis.
exactly.
Is that correct? If just 1/3 prefer soccer? I mean, not
I
just.
mean, based on the units that you're providing, that seems like the logical way to go. That 1/3 would be 6, 2/3 are 12.
Okay, and
Because
the question is, because there is one condition, right? That half of
right.
students prefer both.
Oh, and yeah, you need like either the fraction or another way to find out, like for the other half. Because if not, you would only be having 15 or 18.
Yes. And I think you got it
Yeah,
in the sense of working the fraction, because 1/3 completes the 2/3 you have over there. But there is a problem with this exercise. And it's not a word problem because it's missing some information, like Angelica said, to conclude the total amount of students. Okay, it's so hard to conclude it right now, just knowing that 2/3 of they are 12, of the students are 12. No, I think we need a little bit more information, and there is a logical contradiction. If you use the information like you have it right now, then you're gonna have the 6 students prefer soccer, but then you're gonna have 9 students that prefer soccer and tennis. How is that possible? Okay, here we can solve the problem just adding the word just. 1/3 of the students just prefer soccer. Okay, we specify over there. But even that way, it will be not a word problem because we are separating the total in 1/3 and 2/3, and then we're requesting the half of the people we have over there with 1/3. 1/3 is like 33%, right? The half is 50%. So this exercise is not a problem because the initial situation is not right. Be careful with situations like this one. Honestly, I took this problem from internet, not like this, I modify it. And that way you can um, check the situations. Okay, so thank you. This was the first presentation today we have. And we're gonna start with the other one. Next one will be shorter, and I think we already listened many of those ideas. And yeah, it's very important, like review. I mean, eh, creo que hemos recibido capacitaciones, a más no poder de lo que vamos a hablar. Give me a second. Okay. So let's start with the other part of the presentation or the other part of the class today. And that way we're going to be concluding this. Let me see, someone's writing in the chat. Okay, that's okay. So I'm recording the meeting for those classmates.
Thank you, Mr. Bye.
Yes, okay, welcome, no problem. I understand you have the other class, but remember that tomorrow we have an activity and I will need your participation from 8 o'clock to 10 to 9, okay, to 9. And then we're
Yeah.
gonna work in the schedule that is already there, working 30 minutes with each group. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So here we have the mathematics in virtual situations. We have it today. What do we have before pandemic? Okay, how do we teach? In the classroom, we work well with the students using the strategies involving them in the learning process. It's not that we're not doing it right now, but we're not doing it in the same way because we don't have this immediate reaction, this immediate feedback we receive normally in the classes. So good preparation or good planning was a key to reach objectives and develop competences with our students. Define strategies depending the students' needs, and this is something we see gradually. And today, for example, I was checking your forum. Many of you say it. In evaluation, which was the last photo, there's a problem. Students are cheating their homework and they present not their ideas, the ideas of other one. Or in mathematics, they use some applications that solve problems for them. Those guys, those guys. Some of the motivation was given by the interactions with their classmates. And I think, well, this is so hard. Students right now don't have it, don't receive it. Technology is useful to provide feedback to students. Well, this is what we use, right? What we normally use. And what happened with the classrooms? We have corners, spaces to develop specific activities, game charts, everything. We supervise all students' job and we see their reactions immediately, their actions and the activities they do. And well, we have the canvas, the spaces we work to translate or transfer information. Give me a second, please. Sorry. So we can continue now. What happened now in pandemic? So how to teach mathematics in pandemic? We're going to talk about some elements. Again, I think you have been already trying. We have like 1 year of this situation. So we start moving the classroom to the world of computers and cell phones. And it was complicated, right? Because not everybody have the right hardware, the correct hardware. But now if right now you have a tablet that let you draw to show students the procedure, okay, or to explore with them the procedures, even though then they don't have it. And it's not that it's bad that we have here our whiteboard as I see in some cameras. You have your whiteboard back to you and you can show them like the procedure you did. That's okay. I mean, so good is what we have. But it's better to translate these situations to the technology we are trying to use. So limit the technology to pencil paper activities. Okay, the thing I was saying. Okay, and we have some technology limits, right? Because we weren't prepared for this situation. Synchronous and asynchronous activities, which is very important. We understand what's the main difference between those. I think you're clear with this one. And of course, we're going to talk about the evaluation at that time. Okay, so what happened with the traditional classes and the online? We're going to talk about the flexibility, self-discipline, and the tools. Okay, in traditional classes, you must attend your classes in person. There's usually a strict schedule to follow. In online classes, no, you don't have this. Students can explore some of the resources you propose in the platforms you prepare. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about this, and they can explore at any moment. Okay, I think you know what's the name of this kind of activities. Self-discipline, so students are motivated their own imparter because they know that they have to respond in a determined time. Well, we're doing the same with our online classes. And is that we're still following um, the rules? Okay, we're still following the rules. Or don't know if your schools you're working different. Is it like this? I mean, you work based on a schedule, and you have to make it a week of test, and you have to okay is what we have right now, but it's supposed to be different. Okay, it's supposed to be different. What about next one? In online classes, you must hold yourself accountable for tasks. You must know how to manage and regulate your time. Of course, right now, for example, I'm giving you an extra chance for one activity you can do between 2 days, today and tomorrow, of course, but I'm giving you more time because these online classes works like that. Of course, the activities must be designed in order that students work their own, okay, work their own, not too hard activities, impossible activities. They will need like the help of professor to solve it. No, activities they can solve their own. What happened with the tools in traditional classes or in the classes? We're gonna talk about traditional classes like the non-online classes. We have some specific tool for a specific task. And normally are the tools we have in the schools. I'm talking about not the computers, right? Computer is something we can use today. I'm talking about, you know, rulers. I'm talking about that compass you have over there, protector, and the use of this is very important. Can we do it with the online classes? Yeah, but it will not be the same way because we will not have that feedback we need. In online classes, there are many online simulators and tools that let you understand the problem in several ways to solve, not just in one. But there is a problem. What happened when we try to move those simulations to reality? Probably students will not have the management of a compass. For example, a compass, you take like the tip and start moving like this. I saw some students start doing this with the other hand to make a circle. And well, that's something that we work in the classes, right? So it's so hard to teach this in the online classes. So about technology, we need the hardware, the software, and the hardware capacities and the software capacity. In hardware, we have all the resources. So for example, our computer, our cell phone, our camera, okay, I think you know what's the hardware. The software is, well, the platforms we use, the games. I recommend to you last time to use Open Board, which is a whiteboard that let you do very good activities like for classes like science, for classes like math, okay, and it's so good. What about uh, the um, the capacities, okay, the hardware capacities we need? In this case, it's focusing what we have, right? And well, Dexterio last year makes a bunch of money, I think, with teachers, right? Because normally we have a computer that works just basic, is not designed to do a what's the word for this? To do a live transmission, okay? It's not designed for this. Even though the cell phones, we don't have a cell phone. I mean, a TikToker cell phone. And well, that's what we need at the end. So be sure that we will not have interruptions during the classes. The internet, okay, come on. We get used to have the one of 10 megabytes, I think, and now we need one with some extra because of the activities we have to do. And the next one is related with software competencies that I think your schools have been bringing some courses or classes related with this to prepare yourself for the use of the software you have in your school. Because there are many platforms, like as an example, the one I'm working right now is Google Classroom, okay? I'm working the classroom and I'm still being prepared to use, still been getting some um, formation classes about this one because it's so huge. Okay, I'm working the G Suite. Don't know if you use this one, but it's the one that many schools are using. And it's so good, but there are some others, of course. Okay, I think here you can tell me like the definition of those, and that way I will not be just talking. You can give me some idea. So what can you tell me about those definitions we have over there?
Synchronic, it's when you have live classes like what we're having right now, and you get to interact with the students. And asynchronic, it's when you assign special material to students so they can develop that activity on their own time, on their own, by their own.
By their own, okay? Yes, it's like that. And I think you're clear with this. It's something we have been doing, okay? As you can see over there, I'm not gonna read the definition. So asynchronous learning, participants can receive immediate feedback, promote teamwork and activities to develop in groups. And what happened with asynchronous? In this case, the learning, the participant can learn their own and promote group activities. Okay, let's move to the next slide. What happened with the evaluation? I think you are ready. Explore a little bit of this one with the last forum you did. So before pandemic, teachers used traditional test questions mostly to determine students' prior knowledge or modify your instructions. So now, online summative assessments should emphasize in synthesis and self-reflection. So students can assemble a portfolio that shows their growth over time. Projects enable. Okay, I think that here we know how evaluation have been working. Okay, so there are 3 types of evaluation we see in mathematics. Okay, we focus in this one: the cognitive, the performance evaluation, and the process evaluation. Process evaluation is what we have been working on. Okay, is based on the diagnostic, based on the summative evaluation, and the formative evaluation, okay, is like this. The cognitive focuses on higher order intellectual skills. This one is so hard because it required management of this evaluation model, and is not too common to use it. But it's something we can use in online classes, especially that students works in self activities, okay, in their self activities. Performance evaluation, it's the one that requires students show those abilities, okay, by creating a program. These 3 types are based on the company's evaluations. So let's talk a little bit of each one. So in this cognitive evaluation, it will require the development of the memorization, the application, and create. Give me a second. So your classmates are trying to join. There he is. Well, in memorization, I think we know how this works. Practically, students will describe and reproduce the ideas. Okay. So cognitive evaluation will work like this. Want to participate? I think someone has a microphone. Okay, there it is. The application here is where the students use those ideas and procedures to solve problems. And finally, creatives give a context to those situations, identifying strategies and adding the framework to use this knowledge in one situation or justify strategies. Some examples here we have the middle test, challenge exercises, which is normally what we use, story problems, okay? And well, cognitive evaluation, like I told you, is a little harder to evaluate, require more time than the rest of the other ones. And it is because it's focused more in the knowledge, okay? In the knowledge, in the use of this, especially in math, right? So with performance evaluation, we focus here in two situations, the measurement of objectives or an objective measurement and a subjective measurement. The objective measurement is if the students uh, reaches those objectives we have or responding the standards. Measurement, subjective measurement is more our view, how we see students, if they really can solve or not one of those activities. And here we have some of those performance evaluation examples, like the rubric table, self-evaluation, co-evaluation, and teacher's observation. Of course, the teacher's observation becomes to be more qualitative than quantitative evaluation, right? So we cannot observe that students are 70% correct in what they do. No, we can see if they can do it or not, or if they need help to do something. And this is why the subjective view is important here. And finally, here we have to answer these four questions. And I think it's what we get used to do. Some examples for these ones are the standardized test, average of students, survey evaluation. Okay, everything is it's focused. Normally, this is the process we use because it's the one that have been working in the curricula, is the one that is designed for what we have. I mean, we divide the classes in four partials or in four parts, and we have to evaluate each of these parts to, at the end, see if students pass or not with the average they got. Is this the only way to evaluate? No. Okay, is this the best way to evaluate? Well, that's a question that I cannot answer because it depends of what your school wants from your students, okay? What happened with the platforms? In platforms, we have to consider four elements: the organization, and I recommend to you to organize the activities based on the contents, okay? Or based on the periods, but not based on the time. When I say the periods, it's that we can have one content uh, for a determined week, okay? And we expect to have this in that week. And well, it's a little bit like based on time, but it's not based on time. It's based on what we want to do during that week, during that period. So if at the end the partial has 10 weeks, we have to focus those weeks for this, those other weeks for this other one. And this is what you have to do in the platform, okay? Organize based on contents, the units, or based on the periods. Define the period. Students will access to the information during all the period of classes or during a determined moment. You have to define that. Normally it's like they access to the information during all the partial. And in the partial, then we can go to the next one. It will be so good, and that happened with university classes too, that you finish a class and then you don't have access to that information again. Okay, normally that's something that happens. Something we have to try to open are chats and forums, space where students shares ideas and have a faster communication. And of course, the self-evaluation, which is something we have to promote. Create your evaluation where students evaluate their own knowledge in a quickly way. For the meetings, like the meeting we are right now, we need to have or to define an introduction where you can present the class or what you will do, like the agenda. Present a video about authentic situation related with the content. Okay, here in the introduction, what matters is that students will have a general view of what will you do, of course, in the sense of catch their attention. Quickly review previous knowledge, something important, some of the activities we normally do in the classes, but now with virtual tools. In the class, we have to consider students' expectations, so we have to ask them for what they wanted to have at the end of the classes. not distractors around yourself, and it's so important in these classes normally, and I try to do it. In my case, I don't have something, anything in my back, just a white wall, okay? Because if you have something over there, I don't know, the picture of your last trips will be over there. And that happened in class too, in classes, right? The students, I don't know, the ones that are closer to the windows normally are always looking for hours and hours looking the window. Is it important students see our classes in virtually? Yes. Many research have been saying that show yourself in the classes is so important. And it is because at the beginning, I think we were so, I don't know, ashamed to be doing this I'm doing right now, which is turn off my camera, and it doesn't help. Okay? Make questions constantly. Make questions constantly. It's so important to keep the students' attention. Use color and animated slides. On internet, we can find many. We have the Canvas page. We can find many over there. You can download some like this ones. They are free, so you can download however you want to make those more visual. Because at the end, this is a kind of marketing activity. We have to sell students our classes. Okay, they see it like this, especially because they are on Instagram, they are on Facebook, they are on TikTok every day. And what they see over there are situations like this. I mean, colors, something that calls their attention. At a moment to make a conclusion, you should solve a problem related with this. Remember that the best methodology, and you say that, to develop critical thinking is problem solving. Ask a student how they rate your class and why, for example. Okay, this is so important because students start thinking they are part of the process too if they evaluate like this. Finally, the evaluation, you have to prepare teamwork activities more than individual ones. Self-evaluations are so important, and quickly exercises, of course, like we will explore tomorrow with your presentation of the math game you investigate. You can promote math games in your classes to evaluate a class, okay? Thank you, and I will share to you right now a video. Just give me a second. Share sound, there he is. And that way we're going to be clear about this. This summarizes a lot of what I was saying. Then we're gonna have the rest of time to work in the other activity. We're gonna make the groups. Of course, I wanna tell you something about the next weekend and about tomorrow too. Here it is. Can you hear? Can you hear the video, the song, the piano?
Yes, we heard.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Dear teachers, last spring you made the shift from face-to-face teaching to pandemic pedagogy. In a matter of days, you found innovative solutions to huge challenges. You designed virtual lessons with limited time and limited resources, and there was no roadmap or blueprint. Now, it wasn't perfect. There were some mistakes along the way, but you were there for your students every single day. You've proven that social distance doesn't have to mean relational distance. Despite the roadblocks, you've built a classroom community on empathy and kindness, where students engage in meaningful collaboration. You've done check-ins and partnered with families. You've helped find resources for students who are struggling. You've experimented with new approaches, and you've taken creative risks. You've continued to learn. You're reading books, watching videos, listening to podcasts, and reading articles. And you're curating content and engaging in professional discussions. You're crafting meaningful lessons that empower students with voice and choice. Like that awesome scavenger hunt, or the maker project, or that blogging project, or the choice menu, or the game-based learning activity you did. Now, 2020 has been hard. We've seen wildfires and natural disasters and an economic downturn. Oh, and apparently murder hornets? Seriously, murder hornets. Meanwhile, teaching is especially challenging right now. It can feel draining when you have a barrage of emails to answer, or when you do a video conference and face a wall of black screens. Some of the social media comments about teachers have been downright toxic. But know this, you are impacting lives. Right now, there's a student who feels known and heard because of you. There's a student who is passionate about learning because of you. There are students who will remember you forever as someone who was there for them in these dark times. You are changing the world even when you can't see it. So thank you.
I've been a challenge. Yes, I've been a challenge this, right? And I think, don't know if you feel that you have becoming a master in Zoom, or you have becoming a master in those platforms we used to teach, but it's so a challenge, I think. Wow, what a challenge, teachers! But congratulations, I think we have been doing it so good. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording here.